Chapter 5. The Inscription of the Dai-Gohonzon of the High Sanctuary of the Honman Teaching. The Dai-Gohonzon of the High Sanctuary of the Essential Teaching, Honman, is the fundamental source of our denomination, Nichiren Shoshu. The Dai-Gohonzon is presently enshrined in the newly constructed Hoando at the head temple, Tai Sekeji. In quote, the teaching hidden in the depths, unquote. The 26th High Priest Nichikan Shonin cited the following words of the great teacher Miyalo. Even if the faith is not sincere, when one has a relation with the correct object, one will be able to gain much merit. However, if the object is not correct, the faith would not produce any seed for enlightenment. 6-volume writings, page 43. The Dai-Gohonzon of the High Sanctuary of the Essential Teaching, Honman, inscribed by the Daishonin on the 12th day of the 10th month in the second year of Koan, 1279, is the very origin of our faith. Nichiren Daishonin stated in quote, reply to Kyo-o, unquote, I, Nichiren, have inscribed my life in Sumi ink. Therefore, believe in it with all your heart. Gosho, page 685. This passage signifies that the enlightened life of the true Buddha was revealed as the Gohonzon. It was inscribed on a sheet of paper in Sumi ink. Paper and Sumi ink are made from plants. Thus, even plants have the potential to attain Buddhahood. The Gohonzon is a manifestation of the principle of the attainment of enlightenment by plants and trees. Furthermore, Nichiren Daishonin stated in his oral transmission on the enlightenment of plants and trees, the Dai Mandala is the manifestation of the doctrine of Ichinen Sanzen. Osho, page 523. Here the Daishonin asserts that the true doctrine of Ichinen Sanzen was essentially sorted out from Tiantai's doctrine and tailored for the establishment as the great mandala, Dai-Gohonzon. The doctrine of attainment of enlightenment by plants and trees is so profound that the contemporary unlearned scholars could not possibly have grasped its meaning. They couldn't even imagine that insentient beings have the potential for attaining Buddhahood. 26th High Priest Nichikan Shonin also clearly stated, amongst others, the Gohonzon of the High Sanctuary of the Essential Teaching inscribed in the second year of Koan, 1279, is the ultimate, the firm, and final cause of the Daishonin's advent. It is the greatest amongst the three great secret laws. Mondan, page 197. The three great secret laws are derived from the one great secret law of the Dai-Gohonzon of the High Sanctuary of the Essential Teaching. The three great secret laws can be expanded to the 6 great secret laws, and further to the 28 chapters of the Lotus Sutra, and further to the 50 years of teaching of Shakyamuni Buddha. All of Buddhism is derived from the Dai-Gohonzon. Naturally, the Dai-Gohonzon is the origin and the root of all other Gohonzons. The successive high priests have transcribed the Dai-Gohonzon and entrusted each of us with a transcribed Gohonzon. The Dai-Gohonzon of the High Sanctuary of the Essential Teaching is the ultimate Gohonzon. The Daishonin inscribed it after the Atsuhara persecution, which involved several believers who had demonstrated an unprecedented, pure, and powerful faith and practice in the face of severe persecution. From Sado to Kamakura, having survived the Tatsunokuchi persecution, the Daishonin was sent into exile on Sado Island. The Daishonin reached Sado Island in 1271. On February 11th of the following year, 1272, a murder plot came to light. In Kamakura, two brothers of the Nagoi family, Taki no Kairiya and Noritoki, allegedly attempted to kill the shogun. The attempt failed, and the two brothers were executed. Then, 4 days later, at Rokuhara in Kyoto, Hojo Takesuke, the administrator of the western region, was murdered. In his Rishon Kokoron, Nichiren Daishonin prophesied that if the rulers of Japan did not take faith in the correct teaching, the nation would suffer the two disasters of internal strife and foreign invasion. These two events were the actualization of the disaster of internal strife predicted by the Daishonin. Nichiren Daishonin experienced extremely severe circumstances on Sado Island. He was almost always short of food and clothing and dwelled in a miserable hut. It was actually in the middle of a graveyard. However, he safely returned to Kamakura in March 1274, 11th year of Bunei. On April 8th, he met Heino Simon Nojo on that occasion. Heino Simon moderately and courteously asked, quote, "When will the Mongols come to attack Japan?" unquote. The Daishonin replied, quote, "The sutras do not mention a specific time. However, observing the fury of the heavens, I think that their invasion will take place during the course of this year," unquote. The Daishonin also added, quote, "If you or the rulers of Japan do not heed my warning and continue to slander the correct law, this foreign invasion will not fail to come, and the nation shall be ruined," unquote. This event is called the, quote, "Third Remonstration," unquote. The Kamakura shogunate ignored the Daishonin's warning. The government ordered Hoin, the chief priest of Amida Dado Temple, to pray for rain to deal with the prevailing drought. Honin's prayer was seemingly answered as a soft rain began to fall. However, a strong gale began to blow on the next day and damaged many houses. Ultimately, Hoin's prayer completely failed. Observing the stance taken by the government, the Daishonin decided to leave Kamakura. On May 17, 1274, Nichiren Daishonin arrived at Mount Minobu. Hakirisane Naga was the steward of the surrounding region. He had converted to Daishonin's teachings by Nikko Shonin. The final 9 years of the Daishonin's teaching and leading the Minobu period had begun. This period culminated in the completion of the purpose of his advent. 5 months after the Daishonin's arrival at Mount Minobu, his prophecy of the disaster of foreign invasion came true. A Mongolian force of approximately 25,000 invaded the two islands of Tsushima and Iki, and finally assailed Hakata Bay in Kyushu. The Daishonin's prophecies, the two disasters of internal strife and foreign invasion, were fully proven. The Daishonin declared that I, Nichiren, am the greatest sage in all of Jambu-Vipa. Gosho, page 748. This declaration by Nichiren Daishonin himself, that he is clearly the greatest sage in the entire world, is also a more objective revelation that his inner enlightenment is that of the Buddha of the remotest past. The Atsuhara persecution. Soon after the Daishonin's arrival at Minobu, Nikko Shonin launched an active shakubuku campaign at the southern foot of Mount Fuji. As a result, a few priests of other schools converted, and many residents of the area became believers in Nichiren Daishonin's teachings. Propagation progressed well. However, the temporary deputy chief priest of Ryosenji Temple, Gyochi, among others, tried to obstruct these shakubuku activities. They intimidated and persecuted the believers in Atsuhara. However, The believers in Atsuhara stood firm. Finally, Gyochi and his collaborators had 20 innocent farmer believers during their rice harvesting falsely charged of stealing and causing injury. This happened on September 21st, 1279, second year of Koan. The farmers were taken to Kamakura. It was Heino Simon Nojo who interrogated the farmer believers there in Kamakura. He regarded them as, quote, believers of the Lotus Sutra provoked by the most hateful Nichiren, unquote. He tried to make them forsake their faith using torture and threats. There was no due process of law, but the 20 farmers never showed even the least bit of fear. Heino Simon went into a rage and had 3 people, Jinshiro, Yagoro, and Yarokuro, brutally executed on October 15th. Before long, the 17 other farmers were released. This event is known as the Atsuhara persecution. The way to attain the life condition of Buddhahood is to devote one's life to the law and keep that faith persistently. It was not the Daishonen's close disciples, but the illiterate farmers of Atsuhara who practiced this way. They demonstrated the strong power of faith and practice. Their resolute behavior far exceeded that of many noble priests and bold warriors. This was the noble faith to be respected and followed as a model by priests and believers in future generations. Their faith was even similar to the practice of the Daishonin, the true Buddha himself, in terms of the sutra passage, quote, we do not begrudge our lives, unquote. Their faith is the origin for propagation in the future 10,000 years of Mappo. The accomplishment of the purpose of the Daishonin's advent. The ultimate purpose of the Daishonin's lifelong teaching and leading was to inscribe the Dai-Gohonzon of the high sanctuary of the essential teaching. This inscription was made so that all the people of Jambudvita, the entire world, could attain Buddhahood through upholding the true law. The Daishonin regarded the circumstances surrounding the Atsuhara persecution as the very opportunity to reveal the ultimate cause of his advent. On October 1st, 1279, the Daishonin stated in quote, persecutions befalling the Buddha, unquote. The Buddha took 40-odd years. The teacher Tiantai took 30-odd years, and the great teacher Dengyo took 20-odd years to accomplish the purposes of their advent. Great and severe persecutions befell them during those years. I have already spoken to you on that matter. It has taken 27 years for me. The greatly severe persecutions I suffered during this period are well known to you all. Gosho, page 1396. Thus, the Daishonin briefly suggested that the time had arrived to reveal the cause of his advent. During his stay on Sado Island, the Daishonin prophesied in his Gosho, quote, the true object of worship, unquote. This indicates the 2 present disasters of internal strife and foreign invasion from the Western Sea. At that time, on the thousands of worlds, innumerable bodhisattvas of the earth will emerge, and the supreme Gohonzon in all of Jambudvipa, within which Shakyamuni of the essential teaching is the attendant, shall be established in this country. Gosho, page 661. The present, quote, 2 disasters of internal strife and foreign invasion from the Western Sea, unquote, though the latter had not yet taken place when this Gosho was written, refer to the quote, the time of disputes and struggles, unquote, interpreted by Dengyo. When the prophecies made in the sutras and the interpretations of scholars come true, the bodhisattvas of the earth, led by Bodhisattva Jogyo, will emerge, and the foremost object of worship in the entire world shall be established in the country of Japan. Within the object of worship, Shakyamuni Buddha, who expounded the essential teaching of the Lotus Sutra, is depicted as the attendant beside the centrally depicted law and Buddha, that is, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo and Nichiren. Thus, Nichiren Daishonin prophesies that Bodhisattva Jogyo would establish the Dai-Gohonzon after the two disasters of internal strife and foreign invasion from the Western Sea took place. Shortly after his arrival at Mount Minobu, the Daishonin wrote the Gosho, quote, the Essentials of the Lotus Sutra, Hokeke Shujo Sho. In it he stated, like this, the sage such as Jogyo shall make his advent after disputes and struggles have arisen within the nation. He will establish the three doctrines of the essential teaching, and there shall be the Kosen Rufu of Myoho Renge Kyo on all the four continents and all four seas. Gosho, page 738. The true identity of, quote, the sage Jogyo, unquote, is the Daishonin as the true Buddha. He declares in this Gosho passage that he will establish the true doctrine of the three great secret laws of the sole essential teaching, and that Kosen Rufu will be achieved. After all the necessary conditions had been met, Nichiren Daishonin inscribed the Dai-Gohonzon, the entirety of the three great secret laws, and the origin of the future actual high sanctuary of the sole essential teaching when Kosen Rufu is achieved. The inscription was made on October 12th, the second year of Koan, 1279. In the Gosho, quote, the essentials of the Lotus Sutra, unquote, the Daishonin clearly stated, quote, there are two significant points to the term essential teaching, Honman, unquote, Gosho, page 734. One is Shakyamuni Buddha's essential teaching of the Buddhism of the harvest. The other is Nichiren Daishonin's essential teaching of the Buddhism of the sowing in Mappo. The latter is also called the, quote, sole essential teaching, unquote. In other words, the Daishonin's essential teaching does not accompany any theoretical teachings. The ultimate purpose of Nichiren Daishonin's advent in this world was the inscription of the Dai-Gohonzon of the high sanctuary, the entirety of the three great secret laws. It is the true entity of the fusion of the law and the wisdom of the true Buddha of the remotest past. We, the disciples and lay believers of Nichiren Daishonin, should not forget that the Dai-Gohonzon is the foundation of faith in Myoho. With the inscription of the Dai-Gohonzon, the way to attain Buddhahood for all living beings was opened eternally. Of this, the Daishonin stated, since the compassion of Nichiren is truly deep and wide, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo shall flourish for more than 10,000 years and further eternally into the future. I, Nichiren, have the beneficial power to open the blind eyes of every living being in Japan. I am able to block the way to the hell of incessant suffering. This merit exceeds that of Tiantai and Dengyo and surpasses that of Nagarjuna and Makayashyapa, Gosho, page 1036. This Gosho passage indicates the three virtues of the true Buddha Nichiren Daishonin. The passage, quote, "Since the compassion of Nichiren is truly deep and wide, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo will flourish for more than 10,000 years and further, eternally, into the future," unquote, signifies Nichiren Daishonin's virtue of parent. Quote, "I, Nichiren, have the beneficial power to open the blind eyes," meaning blind to the true law of every living being in Japan, unquote, signifies the virtue of teacher. Quote, "I am able to block the way to the hell of incessant suffering," unquote, indicates the virtue of sovereign. Nichiren Shoshu believers all over the world are changing their suffering into blessings and unhappiness into hopeful expectations through the truly great merit of the Dai-Gohonzon. The path to worldwide propagation is now rapidly expanding. The path we are now enjoying was established by the Daishonin more than 700 years ago based on his determination for the future attainment of worldwide propagation. The Daishonin inscribed the Dai-Gohonzon of the high sanctuary of the essential teaching based on this great determination held within his heart. Let us strengthen our powers of faith and practice and strive for the achievement of Kosen Rufu and our own attainment of Buddhahood in this life.